I moved both up. I'll just say the same team. Two guys from the Bears that scored touchdowns because the only reason is that they scored touchdowns. But DJ Moore and Khalil Herbert, just seeing that Herbert mostly, just because I think there's some questions, and I think there still should be some questions in regard to what is going to happen with this backfield for Herbert. But the fact that he played 100% of the snaps with Justin Fields or the starting group, and Deontay Foreman was a clear backup. Roschon Johnson, clear backup. I think those guys are going to have a role to whatever degree. We'll find out. But Herbert being involved in the passing game and his performance was huge, but playing 100% of snaps. And then, look, DJ Moore was somebody that I was like, I feel like I'm too low to begin with. And so he bumped up a couple spots. It's not like it was a dramatic, change, but did move up a couple spots in my rankings just because it was something that I was toying with anyway. And, just hard to overlook what the potential could be for what that offense has to offer him and what he could offer it as well.
All right, so you moved him to wide receiver 16. Are these updated ahead of Judy and Allen?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Heath, I'll bring you in here because you're still not as high based on the rankings that I'm seeing on the website. Maybe they're not updated. You still have DJ Moore 23rd. He had a 60-plus yard touchdown catch and run on a wide receiver screen. Your thoughts on DJ Moore?
Yeah, I definitely moved him up a couple of spots, but like one of the guys who I left him behind was Jahan Dotson, who I'm the high guy on, I know, but I have a hard time at making Jahan Dotson a faller after that incredible route that he ran and as good as he looked in limited action. So I do think like the positive was the short throws that we saw from Justin Fields, and specifically on the Herbert play, like throwing that ball to the running back and not just taking off and running. Now, maybe it's because he wasn't allowed to take off and run in a preseason game. And when it gets to live action, he's still going to do that. But I am hopeful, like those short area targets for both Herbert and DJ Moore would be really big for Justin Fields.
All right. It was good to see. Jamie, did we talk about who you moved Herbert ahead of?
What did I move Herbert ahead of? I moved him ahead of, I dropped both Eagles running backs because who knows what the hell is happening there. But I moved him ahead of Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift. I think he might have been ahead of Swift already, but moved him ahead of both those guys.
Okay. Heath, who's a big rankings riser for you?
Those two were definitely on the list, but I will I'll reference what Jamie said, Kenneth Gainwell, and he's still my third running back in this Eagles backfield. And it doesn't have anything really to do with him not playing, but just that there's so much noise coming out about Gainwell still having a role. And I'd kind of just assumed that as long as both guys were healthy, we'd see Penny on early downs and short yardage, and we'd see DeAndre Swift with the explosive plays and on passing downs. I'm not sure Rashad Penny's going to make this team. Like it might be Kenneth Gainwell and DeAndre Swift in the backfield. So still, like I said, Gainwell, not someone I'm drafting in the first 10 rounds, but he wasn't somebody I was really drafting much at all before this past week. So a big rise for him and somebody that in that RB 50 range for now.
All right, let's do some risers and fallers. Jamie, Deshaun Watson is he just a winner or is he an actual rankings riser?
No, I moved him ahead of Richardson in redraft rankings. I think, you just look at, again, we're talking upside, and, you've talked about this a lot, DeShazer, as what Watson could be, if he's back to his form pre-suspension, that there's top 5 upside there. I don't know if he's going to get there with his team, if he's still that type of guy, but he looked great. He really did, and that was without Cooper and a banged up Elijah Moore, so we'll see what this complete offense looks like. But it's a great offensive line. It's a very good receiving core. He's going to have a run game to support him. If he runs a little bit, like we saw, there's a chance for him to be, again, another quality fantasy quarterback. And so I don't know if he has as much upside as Tua. That's the one I think that I'll struggle with, because Tua right now is 9 for me. Watson is 10. But they're very close in terms of what the upside could be.
A lot of scampering from Deshaun Watson. All right, another winner, a riser, is Khalil Herbert and Kenneth Gainwell. We talked about them. Ty Chandler, are you drafting him right now? If you were drafting today, Ty Chandler as a handcuff to Alexander Mattison?
As a handcuff and as, a late round dart throw, without drafting Mattison. These are the type of guys that if there's an injury or Mattison struggles, again, it's first time being in this role, and, some of the metrics are terrible for Mattison. So if this is a guy in Chandler who had a good preseason last year and is off to a good start this year, gets the chance to be in that starter's role for whatever reason, could end up being a top 20 running back. So these are the type of guys I like to take with late round picks.
You moved DJ Moore up. We talked about that. You moved him ahead of Jerry Jeudy and Keenan Allen. Tank Dell. He's still, even since Friday, he had his big game on Thursday. Even since Friday on NFC, Tank Dell is wide receiver 75 in average draft position. Where is Tank Dell for you? Houston rookie Tank Dell.
He's in the 50s. I think, again, you just look at this receiving core. And we've talked about this a lot. I like Nico Collins the best, but there's going to be an opportunity here for at least one receiver to be north of 100 targets and maybe two guys to be in that range. And Mechie's going to be a factor. Robert Woods, I know we don't want to expect that, but he's going to be a factor. Dalton Schultz is obviously going to be a factor. But, all you're hearing is great practice reports. And forget about the preseason because everything that he did was with, not CJ Stroud. All 5 of his catches were from Davis Mills. It's not exactly hard to see that he's open all the time. And, D'Amico Ryans in the media session, I think it was on Sunday, or Saturday, they were crossing paths in the media session. And he said to Tank Dell, according to the reporters there, stop killing my defense or something like that. Like he's just making plays all the time, so it's hard to just say when you talk about the Alan Lazards and the Tyler Boyds and the guys in Carolina and, some of these situations here, a guy that CJ Stroud reportedly wanted. I know where he worked out in pre-combine stuff and the work that he put in and the type of player that he is. It's just somebody I think you get excited about, the late round pick.
Would you take Tank Dell or a Giants wide receiver?
Tank Dell.
Okay. Would you take Tank Dell?
Unless Wandale was 100% healthy, which we know is not the case.
Is this crazy to Tank Dell or to Kadarius Toney? That's crazy, right?
They're in the same range for me. I think if Tony's definitely guaranteed to play week 1, I'd probably take him, but just because of his quarterback, but it's not that far off.
Okay. And Dalton Kincaid is a riser for you. He's tight end 13 in Fantasy Pros ADP. Where's Dalton Kincaid for you?
He's 12th. So again, replacing Dulcich for me. I just like the fact that he played every snap with the starters, and you've heard, again, nothing but positive reports this training camp. So upside, we say this a lot at quarterback and tight end, when you get to these late round picks, who's got upside, and he has as much as anybody. So you could say the also ran guys of Tyler Higbee and Juwan Johnson and Gerald Everett and those guys, and still want to take a chance on Dulcich. I get it. Laporta, same thing. I think just these guys have the opportunity to be with, certainly Kincaid's situation, a quarterback that is going to be fantastic, a system that's going to be fantastic, a team that went out and targeted him aggressively, taking him in the first round and trading up to go get him in the first round. So as long as he doesn't flop because it's too much for him to handle, which doesn't sound like it's going to be the case, there's a lot to like there.
I don't think this is the first preseason where we've been fretting a little bit about seeing Adam Troutman play ahead of someone, and then Troutman never does anything when the regular season comes around.
Who has done something playing with him?
I feel like maybe
Taysom Hill.
Maybe Jared Cook. Am I getting the years mixed up?
I don't think it's about Adam Troutman being better than Greg Dulcich, at least not for me. It's just about there's a potential speed bump or roadblock that is going to keep Dulcich from taking that next step. And so it's not a complete, oh my God, don't draft Greg Dulcich or completely run away from him. But when you're starting to look at upside here, who do you want to trust? You want to trust maybe the third target for Josh Allen or the third target for Russell Wilson?
Yeah.
And that's a big maybe. I think those when we've gotten excited about like the Mike Gesicki types, the tight ends who aren't really tight ends and they're more like wide receivers. But I don't know how many of those guys have actually exceeded expectations over the last few years. Like if Dulcich is gonna play 50 to 60% of the snaps and be behind Jeudy and Sutton in terms of targets on a bad offense, it's hard to, maybe he scores a bunch of touchdowns. It's about the only path.
Okay, let's see. Before we get to Heath's risers, and I think we've covered all of them except for one. Let's see what people are saying about the Bear in the YouTube chat, and it runs the gamut. The Bear is great from Sean. Season 1 is great. Season 2 is good. From Adam, the Bear is similar to Jamal Williams, not flashy or super exciting, but is solid and gets the job done. From David, the Bear is unbearable. And from No Thank You, Adam as head chef in the Bear. Redo this dish. You use mustard. This isn't supposed to be spicy. Mustard is spicy. Of course it's spicy. Like that's the thing.
Are you talking about regular mustard being spicy?
Yeah, it's a little spicy.
What?
It's a little spicy.
Yellow mustard is spicy?
I think so. Maybe I haven't had it in so long, but I think it is.
What do you put on your hot dogs?
Ketchup. Well, I don't put anything on my hot dogs. I just enjoy the hot dog. You know?
Do you go plain?
Yeah.
Just drizzle a little extra hot dog water on it, and you're good to go.
I went to Marlins Yankees on Saturday. Good showing by your team, by the way, this weekend. So I got 4 hot dogs for myself and my 3 kids. 2 went with nothing on it, and the only smart one was the 5-year-old who had ketchup and mustard.
All right, but like, there's a scene in The Bear where they're catering at a kid's party, and the guy they're making hot dogs, and he says, "Where'd you put the ketchup?" And the guy says, "I didn't bring any ketchup." "Why didn't you bring ketchup?" He says, "Because who puts ketchup on a hot dog?" And he said, "Kids." I guess that's who puts ketchup on a hot dog. All right, Heath, your only riser that we haven't talked about. He gave me Gainwell, Khalil Herbert, DJ Moore, Tank Dell, New Orleans wide receiver A.T. Perry. So this is something you were referencing at the beginning of the show.
Another guy who didn't play with the starters, but really, really popped with Jameis Winston, especially that first drive against some of the Chiefs starters. Like he just destroyed, I think it was McDuffie, out of the slot. Looked really, really good. And listen, like the guys who are definitely ahead of him, Chris Olave, who couldn't even catch a pass. And no, Chris Olave. But then it's Michael Thomas, and we know what the injury concerns are with him. And like Rashid Shaheed is a big time question mark. So there's a path. I don't think Perry like moves up into the where we're ranking him in the top 60 wide receivers or anything like that, but he's in my top 200 now. He's on that list of guys who I like a lot of people in dynasty leagues, including my leagues. You don't get to add anybody through most of training camp. And then you get to that final week of the preseason or whatever, and waivers pops up and there's six guys you want to add. I think Perry should be one of those guys.
Okay, I want to throw out some possible rankings risers or just guys that impressed maybe and see what you guys think. But before I do that, Heath, let me get your thoughts on Khalil Herbert, because I know you were concerned about the pass protection thing, and I do think it's worth pointing out on the first play of the game, in my opinion, Khalil Herbert pretty much whiffed on pass protection. But then, of course, he had the 56-yard touchdown catch and run, which was very nice, even though he sort of bobbled the ball. But you're moving him up. Okay, what does that mean? Give me a little context there.
He was at the 9-10 turn for me. He's now going to be at the 8-9 turn. I still have him behind DeAndre Swift, but there's room for him to still move up into that round 7-ish range if this continues. I thought it was kind of a mixed bag for him because, like, obviously the catch was awesome. The pass protection was not. And then Roschon Johnson, who is the best probably pass protector on the team, looked fantastic as a runner against lesser competition. So I do think that there's still some concern that this is a big, ugly mess at running back for the Bears, but it was nice that he made a big play.
Okay. I would throw out Cortland Sutton and Romeo Doubs as winners. Just the targets. Look, so hard to make a lot of it, but make a lot out of it. But Doubs, especially because he's going so late. Sutton is about around pick 100. They were really involved. And the thing about Doubs is there was a training camp, I believe it was in The Athletic, the beat writer predicted who would lead the team in catches, and he predicted Romeo Doubs would lead the team in catches. And I think that was after they drafted Jaden Reed. And then we had I think I said training camp, I meant like mini camp. And we had a report, I don't know, sometime in the last few months that Love just kept looking for Doubs, and we always dismiss it. But there he was. I believe he out-targeted Watson 3-2. It wasn't a huge deal. Did he catch a touchdown, Romeo Doubs? Did, right?
Yes.
So Doubs and Sutton, to me, are guys that had good preseasons. Preseason week 1, at the very least, I'd say got off on the right foot. Your thoughts?
They're easy picks after pick 100 based on ADP right now. So it's just, these are the type of guys that you draft as either wide receiver 4, in some cases wide receiver 5 on your roster that could be in that mix to be the number 3 wide receiver. I don't know how much higher the ceiling is unless really a lot of things break right, but there's certainly the potential there, especially, you look at Doubs and playing with, a guy in the same class, rookie wide receiver class. And we saw what happened in the first, 5 or 6 games last year before Doubs had the toe injury, that he was the better of the 2 rookies. So I think there's a lot to like about that. I just want to give a quick shout out though I keep referencing this. So XP Sports is the trainer I keep referencing. Listen to the guys that they had training this year. We've already talked about a couple of them, Tank Dell and A.T. Perry. Jahmyr Gibbs was with them. Rashee Rice was with them. Jaden Reed was with them. Jordan Addison was with them. Chase Brown. Trying to think. Kenny McIntosh. Demario Douglas is another guy to keep an eye on. Could be one of the top 3 receivers there for the Patriots. Had a good preseason game. It's a very impressive group. So I just want to give them a little shout out, a little respect, because they're always good to me. And having a good start so far to their rookie campaign, the guys that they train.